On this special edition of Inside Education, we have two Clark County School District trustees and their guests to talk about issues important to you. We call the show School Matters, and it starts right now. Welcome to a special School Matters edition of Inside Education. I'm your host, Mitch Truswell. We have several topics on the agenda for this School Matters, issues that can certainly have an effect on how well a student does in school and how successful their education experience will be now and in the future. On the heels of the Clark County School District recognizing Week of Respect, we're going to discuss the issue of bullying in schools and online. Then, magnet programs within the district. As we've reported, CCSD is celebrating 25 years of magnet programs here in Clark County. Finally, we have some questions for our trustees regarding the budget and the upcoming change in leadership from some high school students. So let's introduce our panel. Trustee President Deanna Wright represents District A. She has been a member of the School Board of Trustees since 2008. Trustee Linda Cavazos is the newest member of the Clark County School Board of Trustees. She represents District G and was appointed to the board in August to fill the position vacated by Aaron Craner. Gia Moore is director of the district's magnet schools and career and technical academies. And Brandon Muller is assistant director of the district's equity and diversity education department. Thank you all for being here today.
Thank you.
Before we get into our first topic, which is bullying, we want to take you to Victoria Fertitta Middle School to hear from some students on what respect means to them. At Fertitta, the students have a code of conduct called the Fertitta 15.
Fertitta 15 is basically like the manners that we should always use.
We mainly focus on like the respectful things, which is like encourage people, be nice, and give people motivation, look people in the eyes.
Showing how to be courteous to somebody, how to shake their hand, and like two specific rules are like it says don't bully people and always show respect.
And it just kind of like lowers like suspension rates, it lowers expulsions, there's less people being held back.
In fact, since the Fertitta 15 was put into place about 4 years ago, there has been a 28% decrease in suspensions, a 42% decrease in expulsions, and a 69% drop in retention rates. But that doesn't mean students here haven't seen or experienced bullying behavior.
It's important to talk about it because my sister, she had got bullied.
Back in elementary school, which is like a long time ago, I saw this kid, he was being beat up by these like older kids in a kickball tournament. And so like I told one of the adults and they like told the kids to stop and they reported them.
I see someone getting bullied, I'll tell the bully to stop and leave them alone, and like I'll be their friend. And then it's also, bullying is like, well, someone getting bullied is like where you can make a friend and be an upstander.
If somebody's around you that's not giving respect, you can tell them like, hey, kind of chill out, you're fine, you do not have to be so defensive about everything, like we're friends, we're gonna be close, we're good people, like just calm down. That's how I would tell them.
It's kind of like the golden rule, like do what, like give respect to get it. And if you were that victim, just imagine people saying those things about you. Like you would want someone to be there for you if someone's picking on you. You don't want someone to just be watching. Like, you know, when a fight happens, people record it. But you shouldn't be doing that. You should like separate it. Like be there for that person that doesn't want to be involved. Like be there for the victim.
So like the students said, it's not just the idea of that you're going to see something and report it, but you need to get involved and be an upstander. And I want to thank Brandon for this because we have a t-shirt right here. It talks about being an upstander, which is what they want to do and showing respect to others. I want to just go over some of the numbers that we have from the district concerning bullying. If we can put those up, I would like to have you guys look at them. We had 6,700, a little over 6,700 reported bullying incidents on the screen there. 2,500, a little over that, actually determined to be bullying after the investigation. Cyberbullying incidents, 482. 320 of those were determined to be cyberbullying after an investigation. Brandon, I want to start with you to kind of talk about those numbers. So we see two different numbers, the reported number and then the number after the investigation. Why the difference?
Well, I think we're always pushing to have everyone report as soon as possible, and we're always getting that number out there. So I think we have everyone just reporting everything, which is great because that gives us a chance to investigate and find out what's going on. I think the other issue is that the Nevada law that happens to deal with bullying and cyberbullying is a very broad and inclusive law. It involves stuff like extortion, blackmail, it has a lot of components to it. So I think when people read that or have knowledge of it, they're like, everything is bullying. So that kind of puts it out there that way. And then we also have to think of our elementary students. They're out there, they're new, they're trying to understand the difference between social conflict versus bullying. So the minute they yell out bullying, we have to jump in there and investigate, which is good for us because we can find out what's going on and we can get support to them. But I think that's why those numbers are high.
Okay. Trustee Cavazos,
Yes.
What do you think about those numbers? I mean, I see the number, the first number, 6,723 reported bullying incidents. That seems like a very high number. Or is that kind of the way it is in schools across the country now? Do you think that's a high number?
Well, Mitch, I think that it's pretty much about average. We have, 322,000 students in our district. When you think about the number of schools, and that we're looking, as Brandon said, we're looking at elementary schools, we're looking at middle schools, we're looking at high schools. There's a wide spectrum of the perspective of these young people. If you look at something, I looked at a report just recently that I was discussing with Brandon from the Los Angeles Unified School District. They had something like 19% of their whole school population that had reported some kind of bullying incident, and 43% in cyberbullying. We're not anywhere close to that. They are double our, school
Size.
population. Sure. But I really think that we're about average there as far as looking at the large school districts across the nation.
Okay. Brandon, talk to me about the difference between, so we know about bullying, but then cyberbullying. And I noticed the numbers on cyberbullying were lower. I always thought cyberbullying was more of kind of a threat. Am I wrong?
Yeah, I think, the bullying stuff we see face to face, it's right in front of us. The cyberbullying is so covert, it's under the table. We can't really see what's going on at times, so you see those numbers and those items being reported less. But I personally think the impact of cyberbullying is a lot more emotional and hurtful than sometimes the physical can be, because even though we see it on the surface of, let's say, a bullying incident involving 30 kids in a classroom and them going at it or having a discussion out loud and it's right in front of us, it's kind of there within 30 or 40 kids. Yet when it's a cyberbullying incident, you put that out on the internet, you put that out on social media, thousands of people see it, it goes around and around. The chances of deleting it are slim to none. You have that digital footprint out there, so the impact continues and is ongoing. So I think even though the numbers can be smaller in cyberbullying, it's an area that I would wish to get reduced as much as possible.
Absolutely. Trustee Cavazos, I know your time with the school board is relatively short, but I'd like to know from you, are there things that are not being addressed that need to be? How do you feel about the programs aimed at stopping this?
I think the programs that we have in place are really good. And I think what is working is really an awareness with the staff and also with the students. And they are tailored to the different student populations. So all of CCSD staff had to recently, we attended a seminar where we were basically shown the differences in the new law and what it involves. But one thing that I do think maybe needs to be addressed is more accountability. And I'll explain that a little bit. What I mean by accountability is that when we have a process in place, we need to have some consistency, we need to have some accountability. So if we have an instance of bullying, whether it's cyberbullying or, as Brandon was discussing, in person, that needs to be reported on that day if possible. And then when it's reported to the school administrator or to the staff person, the process needs to be followed. So where I see and where I'm hearing I'm a therapist by profession, so I do hear from a lot of the parents at different ages that sometimes that process is not being followed. And sometimes I think it's just that sometimes people are not sure or the time frame. So I think that if we can really address that, I think the process is going to go much more smoothly, and we're going to see a lot of resolution much earlier in the process instead of having to go through a complaint. Perhaps we can have some mediation between the parties, or maybe, as Brandon said, you know, it's such a wide scope of bullying that we can have that addressed sooner.
Okay, Trustee Wright, I'd like to get an assessment from you. What do you think about the bullying programs? Do you think they're meeting the need?
I do think they're meeting the need. I think that there's such a wide scope of what bullying is. Yeah. It's one of those things you can talk to one parent and get one definition, and you can talk to 10 other parents and get 10 other definitions. And I think that as our students go through the process too, sometimes they don't understand that the definition of bullying is not just a one-time incident where somebody, you know, pokes you or, you know, does something one time, that it's repeated offenses. You know, there's some really specific definitions, and I think that we're on a path to educate not only our students but our parents about that. And it just takes time. It really does. You know, this law, each session has actually come out in different iterations, and so as the law changes, we have to then update our training and update what we talk about with our administrators and our teachers and what their role in that is. And that also is clear that we need to update our students and our parents as what the roles are and what the legalities and pieces are.
Right. Before we go on to our next topic, I would like to ask you, Brandon, if you could make a change and add to any of the bullying programs, what would it be?
Well, I definitely like to continue with our cultural competency training that we do district-wide for all of our employees, which includes making sure that everyone's aware of the diversity that each of us have, how to get along with each other, and how to effectively speak with one another. I mean, that's one of our biggest areas that can help us greatly. The other area that I'd like to see pushed out there more is social emotional learning. These programs are out there in a majority of our schools, but having more of them out there would be great, and adding a framework to it. We have areas that go over social awareness, social skills, responsible decision making. Those are things that our kids need. It seems like they're lacking in that now. They're coming in with less empathy, less ability to work through problems and have those discussions, and the social emotional learning programs help with that. So seeing that getting rolled out district-wide a little bit more would be great.
Okay, all right, well, let's move on to the magnet programs. The magnet and career and technical academy programs, they have been widely embraced by students and parents. The district's magnet programs offer learning opportunities related to various themes for students. Students from across the district may apply to a magnet program regardless of the region in which they reside. However, transportation may not always be provided. The purpose of magnet programs are to improve student achievement, promote diversity, and create an awareness of career opportunities related to fields of study. Trustee Wright, the demand for these schools has been growing since they started 25 years ago, right?
Correct. Not only is the demand for the schools growing, but I think that it helps that we have award-winning programs in this valley. Our magnet schools win awards, top national awards every year. So we have quality programs. It's not just putting the label magnet on a school. And we have tried, especially in the last few years with Superintendent Skorkowski, to expand those magnet programs. And I'm going to let Ms. Moore explain a little bit more, but we have another opportunity to expand to 3 more campuses next year, and we're really excited about that.
Here's my question, and I get this from parents. Shouldn't every school act like a magnet school if they're doing so well? If we have schools that have a 100% graduation rate, which some of them do, shouldn't they all operate like that? What do you say?
Well, in theory, I would love to be able to do that. There's 2 big challenges. The one is that when you have a career and technical school or a magnet school, that those kids all choose to be there. So they're highly engaged, they're highly motivated, and there's also an understanding that if they have issues, you know, theft or any of the things, bullying stuff, they can be removed from the school. Okay, so in a general population school, we don't have that kind of framework to work within. The other component, and I hate to say it, is it costs more money to run a magnet school and a career and tech school. We have specialty teachers, we have specialty people that come in with our Veterans Tribute Career and Tech. We have firemen and 911 dispatchers, and so it's not just a normal teacher salary, it's a specialty above and beyond.
And there's some expense to that.
They're expensive, they're fabulous. I mean, they are grade A. And so I would love if parents would get behind us for more base funding so we could make more schools, career and tech schools, and bring those in. We would not fight at all to do that.
Yeah, and some parents, there are parents that would support that idea right now, the ones that talk to me. Okay, Gia, let's talk to you a little bit about this. Recently, you received a grant that will allow you to kind of expand to a couple more schools. Can you tell us a little bit about this?
Yeah, so we were really excited. In April of this year, we applied for the Magnet Schools Assistance Program grant for approximately $15 million. And as of a couple of weeks ago, we were notified that we will in fact be awarded the $15 million over the next 5 years.
Congratulations.
So yes, we were very excited about that, and as Trustee Wright alluded to, they are very popular with our community. We are very, very lucky that we have such support from our community, from our board, from our leadership in the district, that we have been able to add so many of these programs. But as Trustee Wright alluded to, they are expensive, and so getting this grant was integral for us to be able to open 3 new programs. So,
and where will those programs be?
Yeah, so it will be at O'Callahan Middle School, Lead Middle School, and Gehring Elementary School.
Okay, and the purpose behind this, there are some other things besides STEM, but it's also to talk about the racial aspect of this.
Yeah, so magnet programs are by design. When a school district implements a magnet program, one of the key pieces to that is to reduce racial isolation at that school. And so part of the aim of that grant was to help districts either eliminate, prevent, or reduce racial isolation at schools, along with offering a program of study that's innovative and interesting for students, something to get them excited about school. And so the way that we crafted that grant and the way that we chose those schools was with that aim, to reduce, eliminate, or prevent racial isolation while also offering a great innovative program of choice for those communities.
All right. Trustee Cavazos,
Yes.
You must be pleased with Trustee Wright talked about the graduation rate, the achievement levels,
Yes.
the engagement that comes from these kind of schools. And it would seem to be that I would think that there would want to be a focus to try and expand them as much as possible.
Yes, I would have to agree with everything that President Wright said, as far as, we would love to have all of our schools as magnet schools. And one of the things that that Ms. Moore alluded to also that's so important is the diversity and trying to reduce the racial isolation. The other thing is that we're always looking to raise our graduation rate, and we have done so in the past several years. In fact, I believe our graduation rate this year, Trustee Wright, me about 82%.
Plus some
82 plus percent. So, which is amazing, done an amazing job. But these magnet schools, the engagement, the excitement that you see when you visit these schools is just absolutely, it's inspirational. And these kids that are attending these schools, they've chosen to attend these schools, and they're very motivated. They have the goal of staying at that school.
Yeah, and if you can't create the schools because of the expenses, is there a way to expand that excitement, that engagement at conventional high schools? Or is that already being done?
Yes.
I think it is already being done. You have schools that try and focus in one area that kind of becomes their little niche area. One of the ways that the superintendent in this initiative to try and expand without the money was to provide these select schools where they would have a focus in an area. Silverado High School is one of those schools. And then you have a school like, say, Coronado that has its AP Academy, which again is not a magnet distinction or a career in tech, but it's something that they've added to the program for kids to be able to opt into to provide a little something different. So you have schools that are really trying. You have, but you also have to understand that they take everybody that's in their attendance zone regardless, and we understand that there are just children that are not engaged in schools because of other things going on in their lives, and so we need to make sure that in those comprehensive schools we are educating everybody that comes in our door, not just the highly motivated or the ones that have chosen a magnet or a career and tech school.
So in terms of before we move on to some student questions, what do you want parents to know in terms of the vision for magnet schools?
I think our vision for magnet schools is clearly to expand as much as we can. In the past, because of the demographics of the district, it was a little tougher to expand, but now as we've moved into a minority majority and some of the economic times that the Valley has faced, and as our population is spreading out a little more, we have some more opportunities to bring magnets to areas of the town that didn't qualify for them prior. And so that's really exciting. Just a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, we had our first magnet school open at McCall Elementary School in Henderson. You know, all these years, and Henderson was never able to get a magnet school. So it's those kind of opportunities. I want parents to know that we're looking for every avenue that we can find to bring those extra opportunities to our kids in the Clark County School District.
Okay, great. As you all know, we work with student journalism classes here at Inside Education. Hope you know that. Our journalists at Foothill High School in Henderson talked to a couple of students who have some questions for the trustees regarding a lot of the recent news about budget cuts and, of course, the superintendent leaving at the end of his contract.
My name is Ella Spiger. I'm in 10th grade at Foothill High School, and my question is, how will the change in superintendents affect students directly?
Trustee Wright, let's find out about that. What do you think? Will this change eventually at June, I believe? Will it have an effect on students?
I'm not sure that students will really directly see any changes. One of our goals as a board, and we're having more discussion about this, but is to continue the implementation of the reorganization. And so we really need a leader who is going to continue to move that work forward and continue to work with the board and work with schools to get more resources pushed down to schools and things like that. So I don't know that directly the students will see any impact, but what I think they will see is the movement forward on the reorganization.
Trustee Cavazos, you agree?
Yes, I do, and I believe it's going to be more of an indirect effect for the positive, and I believe the school organizational teams, which we call the SOT, the SOTs, I tried not to, but they have been doing a phenomenal job. At a recent celebration that we had honoring them, we saw some success stories and some success videos, and the kids are seeing the effects of these school organizational teams, and I think that that's going to continue. And so as we move forward in a positive direction, I don't believe that they're going to see a direct impact, but it's going to be more school oriented and school based.
Okay, let's move on to the budget crunch. Here is a question from Noah.
My name is Noah Price, and I am a senior at Foothill High School, and my question is, how will budget cuts affect extracurricular activities and student fees?
What is the temperature here on that question? Do you think it will have an effect on extracurricular student fees?
Our discussions with the superintendent and within the superintendency has been to try and keep any budget cuts as far away from schools and classrooms as possibly can be. Everything we do in the school district affects schools, whether it's paying teachers or warehouse or all these different things support schools in some way. So there's no way to cut something that doesn't support schools. But several years ago, we ended up having to cut we lowered high school football games by a couple of games and some of those things. And we truly do not want to do that anymore. We know that those are the things that engage kids, keep them keeping their grades up in school. And so our goal is to not have those after school programs, after school activities or fees raised in any way.
Okay. Why don't we get on to the next question? We'll let you answer this, Trustee Cavazos. Olivia has also a question about the budget.
Hi, I'm Olivia Armstrong. I'm in 10th grade and I'm from Foothill High School, and I want to know what you're planning on doing with budget cuts, because we need the money to function, especially in AP classes and honors classes, because that requires a lot of resources.
So obviously the question was, I know you're trying to keep the cuts out of the classroom, but this is kind of in the classroom. AP, Honors College, what do you think? Will there be changes there?
We still don't have all the answers. This is still a work in progress, and we are looking at trying to keep obviously as many things away from the kids and away from the classrooms. What we're here for are our kids. And I say our kids because it doesn't matter whether it's my child or grandchild or anybody's child. We look at them all as our own. AP classes are extremely important. It's an amazing program. It's something that I have to say that when I was able to teach some AP classes, saw some amazing results. So I would like to give this young lady a more specific answer, but I'm not able to at this time. But we're going to try to do our best.
Right, those AP classes are great.
Yes.
And they save students money.
Yes.
They can get college out of the way, some classes
Absolutely.
out of the way. Okay, lots to talk about. I appreciate your time, everybody. To our panel, Trustee Deanna Wright, Trustee Linda Cavazos, Gia Moore, thank you so much. Brandon Mueller, appreciate your time, everyone. And thank you for joining us. Our viewers, for tuning in and caring about public education here in Southern Nevada. Trustee, teacher, staff, parent, student, and taxpayer, we all have a stake in our public education system. A reminder, you can catch this episode and past episodes of Inside Education on the Vegas PBS website, vegaspbs.org, or on the Vegas PBS YouTube page. From all of us here at Inside Education, thanks for watching. We'll see you in 2 weeks.